This is a Federal News Network podcast.
A ton of new developments regarding AI this year. It certainly has the potential to change many aspects of American industry and technology. Some members in Congress want to make sure the government is able to keep tabs on those developments and react accordingly. One of them, Louisiana Democrat Troy Carter, who joins me now. Congressman, thank you for taking the time.
Eric, thank you very much. Always good to be with you.
So tell us how this legislation came together and what would be your main goal?
Well, the legislation is born from the speed at which we see technology moving. We're trying to learn from the mistakes that we made with the onset of the internet. AI is a very, very powerful tool and can be very beneficial in so many ways, but we also know that it could be abused. So our effort is to make sure we get our arms around it, we extract the good and protect citizens and our country from the nefarious actors who would attempt to do the wrong thing with it. So this idea of bringing together the players within CISA, Homeland Security, to contemplate, if you will, the issues that are out there and tighten them to make sure that we lessen the effect of those who would have ill thoughts on how to utilize this technology.
I know it's still a new technology and there's a lot we don't know about what could occur, but what are your main concerns and, what are those mistakes from the internet days that you're worried about us repeating?
Well, in AI, we know that we have image replication where you can have a person, I could have you, Eric, look just like you, saying things that are fundamentally contrary to your beliefs, and the public wouldn't know. We know that the stealing of information, the applications as basic as in the classroom, writing a paper for a student, all the way up to our national security and stealing critical information on our military, our placement, our national security, and everything in between, from our financial institutions to our institutions of higher learning. All are at risk of having not only breaches, because that's one thing. That's a whole nother issue of having sacred data and important data, be it financial information or personal information, people's social security numbers, their banking information, their passcodes for their computers, and to access other vital information that is private. But also the applications of mimicking people, mimicking ideas, the breadth of knowledge and power that's behind AI. We've only scratched the surface of what it could be. And we've got to be very, very, very careful that this does not get out of our hands or out of the barn too fast. And we've got to stay up with and ahead of the bad guys. Because while we have this technology, they do too. I mean, that's the reality. We've seen it impact our placement in military regimes. We've seen it impact our national elections. And this is one of those cases, as I like to refer to, as common sense legislation. We cannot let this develop without there being some regulation as to the parameters for its use.
We're speaking with Louisiana Representative Troy Carter. And so one of my main questions is, why CISA? What role do you see this AI task force playing in formulating federal policy? And what is it about CISA that you think they'd be poised perfectly to do this task?
Well, they're Central Intelligence. This is where the databases are. This is the people that are dealing with this more often than not. That doesn't mean that others will not be tapped. But within Homeland Security and Central Information Intelligence, this is where the data, this is where the technology lives. And these are the people that deal with this day in, day out from various formats. So it's important to have these entities talking, communicating, sharing notes, zeroing in on, while they have so many other responsibilities, the reality and the reasoning behind the task force is to kind of force them to the table to have this as a higher priority of review, and then having them report back to the department, the Committee on Homeland Security, for which I serve. So in real time, we're getting this information, and then we're determining if further legislation is required, if further coordination with other entities or agencies or other committees of the United States Congress are necessary to make sure that the right hand knows what the left hand is doing. And most importantly, the right hand and the left hand are joined together to protect the integrity of our data in America.
Yeah, it's those other entities I'd like to ask you about. You know, CISA is taking a bigger hand in working with those critical infrastructure industries, I'm sure you're aware, for, shoring up their cyber resiliency. Could you see CISA doing something similar with all of these AI companies that seem to have been popping up in the last couple of months?
Well, absolutely, because I think ultimately it's going to require a broadband of regulation. I think it's imperative of government to make sure that we have guideposts, that we have guardrails, that we are able to step in when nefarious actors are coloring outside the lines, to make sure that we have systems in place so we don't have to go and recreate the wheel or create a wheel. We'll have a wheel that's prepared in place to defend against bad actors. Oftentimes we find ourselves playing catch up and reacting to things. My idea and notion, myself and Ranking Member Thompson, behind this legislation is to be proactive. One of the things that we don't do enough of, we spend a lot of time chasing the issue instead of getting in front of it. And what this task force does allows us to get in front of it, contemplate issues before they are issues, and have resolutions to them before they rear their ugly heads.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's well known that Congress seems to sometimes have trouble staying ahead of the game. So it seems as if you are trying to take a different approach and just get out there before problems become problems, even though this is a new technology and we may not even know what those problems are yet. That's
exactly right. And that's the whole idea, contemplating what may come. And listen, we're not flying completely blind. We've seen what's happened with social media. We know how this thing has bloomed and grown. And for every bit of usefulness that we get from it, there's a tremendous amount of bad stuff. And how do we sift through the bad to bring the good to light? The utilization of AI is not a bad thing in and of itself. But like many good things, it can be abused. And so we want to put our arms around that, make sure that we limit the abuse and maximize the good use.
Louisiana Congressman Troy Carter, thank you so much for talking with me.
Always happy to be with you, my friend. Keep doing great work, spreading the good news to the American people. We depend on podcasts like yours